Welcome to the Experience of the Soul podcast with Cynthia Alice Anderson, a weekly show helping you grow, prosper, and evolve. Today, episode 312, Values, Faith, and Meaning in Spiritual Community. And now, Experience of the Soul.
Hello and welcome to the Experience of the Soul podcast. My name is Cynthia Alice Anderson. I am the host, and I'm here today in the studio with my producer.
Good morning, everybody. Shawn Kilgore here with you this morning. So happy to be here with you for episode 312, if you can believe that. Today, we're talking about values, faith, and meaning in spiritual community. Before we get to it, as always, we want to do a couple of shout outs. This morning, we are shouting out to Cindy Stone King, who is one of our biggest supporters on social media. What I love about Cindy, almost everything we put out, she always writes, "Thank you." And I think just putting just that simple gratitude is just like, it's so touching to see every single time. I mean, she just never misses a beat with it. And so thank you, Cindy, for being with us along the way.
Absolutely. It means the world to me because Cindy and I knew each other so many years ago, probably, 20 years ago or more, 25.
Cool. Wow.
When we first met, and both on a spiritual journey. And she's a healer, really. She's a chiropractor, has very healing hands and a healing energy, and has always been a gift to me. So bless you, Cindy, and thank you so much. Yeah, it makes my day every time I see her responding. And I have to say, I've been happy to be back on social media for connections to people like that. You know, the pieces I don't love about it in terms of seeing other people's, kind of bizarre behaviors. But the things I love is people like Cindy. There's another Cindy as well that I hear from, Cindy Choplin as well. Good friends that, our paths have taken us in different states, but we're still always connected by our spiritual journeys. And that means the world. So thank you, Cindy. Yeah.
Absolutely. And speaking of that, leads us perfectly into our brand new community over on the Mighty Networks. So we'll be see a link in the show notes there. You can come join us over there and not have to go through your feeds on social media to try to find what we're putting out there. You just join us in that community, and you get to be a part of everything that we're doing over there. So definitely check that out if you have not yet. And speaking of gratitude, we also want to as always say thank you to all of those of you who are supporting us in our $9,000 in 90 days.
I love
campaign.
$90,000.
Right?
$9,000 in 90 days.
Yeah.
Maybe that's the future, friends, as we build more and provide more for you, on the new network, the online community we're building. It's really amazing to see people getting excited and invested and joining us. And we love it because it's our passion and our purpose to bring you spiritual teaching. And I know so many of us now are seeking to live a spiritual life, and we need support in a spiritual community. And Shawn, as you said a few weeks ago, most people now are not attending every week in person. And so having a way to participate online that's meaningful, that they're not sound issues and, the sound not going up and down. It's built for online.
Yeah.
So it's
easy to talk
cool.
back and forth as opposed to using a comment section on a YouTube video or and waiting for someone who's moderating or whatever to respond.
Right.
We're there. Like that's where we are.
Yes, we fully moved into the 21st century. And I don't want to forget to lift up Amsterdam, New Holland. The listeners there, it really touches me. I do know a few people in Amsterdam, and I was just thinking the other day how fortunate I am to know people around the world and around the country, so much so through my work. So bless you and thank you. And I'm going to be lifting you up as well. I pulled up the map of exactly the area. It's pretty amazing how accurate, we can know the areas. Sometimes, people will even tell us down to the neighborhoods where they are. And what I'll be doing is I'll be lifting you up in the week that this airs, and I will make sure to see for you safety, wholeness, healing, all good. So I'm going to really take that to heart in my prayer time and be lifting you guys up. And I really believe in prayer, we're united. I believe that in thought and prayer, as I'm lifting you up, you feel it, I feel it, and there is a connection. I just believe so strongly in that. So thank you, friends, all the way in Amsterdam, New Holland, that we are connected. I love that. I love that.
It's amazing. And with that, we just want to remind you that there is that send us a text message feature in the show notes, right at the very, very top of the show notes underneath in your, no matter where you're listening to us, you'll be able to send us a text message. And what we'd love for you to do is send us a message and let us know your exact location, where you're exactly listening to us from or joining us from. And we want to lift you up in that specific location also.
Yeah, and I wanted to say a word about why I'm mentioning that is I did an experiment when I was in ministerial school. We were studying the impacts of prayer on a community, and I chose a certain community, and I called the police department and the fire department and everything, and I got stats for past years of crimes and fires and all this stuff, and we could only compare year over year, but the crime, the fires, everything went down like it was somewhere between 15 and 20% with a prayer. Wow. I mean, it was significant. I heard from the police chief, he said, "Can you pray for us next month?" And so what I did is I got a map of the community and I would lift it in prayer every day, and my whole group would do that. But there's been all kind of studies. Larry Dawsey wrote a book. I'm trying to remember the name of his book, Shawn. You'll probably have to help me look it up. That's cool. But there's been a lot of studies. I know you see people online kind of joking about, thoughts and prayers. And I know they're mostly saying that about the gun issue, but the truth is, prayer is powerful. Prayer, creates a supportive energy, and I think it enlivens the ethers in which we live. And so I think we don't always understand how it's supporting, and I think we don't always get the outcomes we want, but I can tell you, prayer does support and change things, and I saw actual stats change as a result of prayer work. That's incredible.
Proof. We got proof.
We got proof. Yeah, we couldn't. Well, and what they said is we can't explain it any other way. And when I asked him about the results, he goes, "Well, I can't explain it any other way. I can't say that it is only the prayer." He said, "But I can tell you it's better than last year, and that's a good thing." So,
Prayer is Good Medicine? Is that the book?
No.
He has quite a few books.
Yeah. But Larry Dawsey, and he was a medical doctor, who did a lot of research on the power of prayer. So I just mentioned that, I know you don't have enough to read right now. So yeah, I always have I have 25 books sitting beside my bed.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Maybe that's something we do in the future over in Mighty Networks is a book club.
Yeah.
That might be a good thing to do.
That's a really good idea. Yes, create a whole place for people to do that. So today, friends, welcome. I can't believe we're already at 3:12.
I know it's June. Second week of June. Crazy.
And Shawn, it feels
summer.
Like hot summer, baby. Or like I always say, sizzling summer.
Yeah.
But it's so nice, Shawn, to have you on the show. And somebody said to me the other day, and I agree, it just seems like you've been here forever. And I think it's partially because you've been connected as a listener and a supporter for so long as well.
Yeah, definitely. I feel now that like I've found my groove with it and my place in it. And it's really cool to have been a listener from the beginning and to be a part of it now. I'm excited every day that we're recording, and
me too. Me too. And you're helping me grow, and I love that. Yeah, and I love that our listeners get to experience that because, friends, we talked about this last week, in the show, and about the importance about strength in community. And I spoke at length about vulnerability and authenticity. And, we don't have a need to be so ego-based to think I have all the answers and you have none. It's not that way. It's that I have a certain amount of awareness, of education and experience, and I am going to help you. I'm going to support your life, but there's going to be times I need help too. And that's okay. There's times I grow too. And thank goodness, what kind of leader would I be if I were not growing myself, so
you're human also. I think sometimes people forget that people in your position are also human beings.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
Yeah, but
Very,
with all
very
of that
true.
said, friends, this is a welcome officially to episode 312, Values, Faith, and Meaning in Spiritual Community.
Yes. This is really important to me. What values do I live my life from? How does my faith inform my values? How does my faith inform how I walk in community and even in the world at large? I'm somehow wanting to take my time as I dial through this. You know, I get so excited, and sometimes it's caffeine induced, I have to admit, but sometimes I get so excited, and I talk really quickly, and this is like, I want us to really slow down, and I want to give you time and space to think about, really focus on the words I'm saying about what do you value. And over the last few years, I've really been in a very thoughtful process. And it's been a real time of growth for me, because there's an aspect of my journey that needed healing, and it's really honoring myself and my values. And as I do that, the kind of people, places, and events I find myself doing. And I wanted to also relate this idea to the spiritual community we're building online, because of how important it is. And I want you to be thinking about it, on a deep, deep level, because my goal and my hope for you is to save you a lot of time and energy that I somewhat wasted in some of these areas. And again, for me, that's the benefit of a teacher. Like, my coaches, the therapeutic work I do, I've noticed that from their experience or their education, sometimes they save me weeks, months, or even years of work, because they've done it, and or they know where I'm at, and they can guide me. And so this is what I want to help you do. What I want to be authentic and real with is part of what I have missed in my life. Part of what I've really needed to heal is believing that I have to have certain energies around me. Here's what I mean. I grew up around so much addiction that sometimes I have not seen or not really acknowledged the behavior that was going on around me, and felt like I had to put up with it. I don't know if this is making any sense. In other words, that what I value, what I hold dear, what I hold to be true, if other people around me were out of alignment with that, I felt like I just had to deal with it. And what I've learned, what my growth has been, is that I really don't ever have to be around that. I don't ever have to be around someone actively in addiction of any kind. And that my life can be full of spirituality. It can be full of respect, unconditional love. There are just certain behaviors that I know are damaging to me. They are damaging to my psyche or to my family. One is the use of drugs. Another is the overuse of alcohol. I just am so clear that that's a value that I have. And what I love about that is that as a parent, my son has never been around over drinking. He's now 17. He's never been around an adult using drugs. He's never been around abuse. And these are the values I hold. But it's interesting how it took a long time for me to really honor the fact that this is not a vibe I want to be around. I actually had it happen very recently, believe it or not, with a family member who was trying to get me to do psychedelics, which is very common in the spiritual world today. Everybody's talking about doing psychedelics. And I go, I don't need psychedelics to have an amazing spiritual experience. I have them already. And that is one of the values I have for my life. And it's how I want to walk in the world. So in building a spiritual community, even in my courses now, in my courses, one of the things I send out before class is please refrain from alcohol or drug use that would impede, your ability to be present in the class. I have some people that have to do medicinal types of substances. I say that's between you and your doctor. If you're on pain management or anxiety, reducing medications, you do what you need to do. But the recreational use of drugs or alcohol are not welcome in the spiritual communities that I build. They're not welcome because people under the influence of those things do and say things they wouldn't normally do and say, and that sets up an unsafe environment. So part of my values for my life, for my home, for my work, for my church, is to set up a safe environment. A safe environment emotionally, a safe environment spiritually. If someone were being a bully in my spiritual community, they would be called on it. I have had to do that recently. Someone who was being a bully, and I said, this is not the kind of behavior that we accept in a spiritual community. It is a boundary for me. And so I want you to, as you're, hearing me, think about, this is probably hitting you on several levels the way it does for me, because, we're not just one-dimensional, two-dimensional beings. We are very complex. We have work situations where we find ourselves. Sometimes people at work go out for a drink after, and you have to decide, are you going to do that or not? Sometimes we're at family events and people are smoking pot or they are drinking. You have to decide, is this the energy and the vibe I want to be around? And you're going to have to make a decision about that, And so and maybe there's concerts. Like, I love reggae music, but I'm not going to go to a reggae concert because I don't want to be around all the smoking of pot. Number one, I don't like the energy. Number two, as I mentioned, people do and say things they wouldn't normally do. Number three, I'm allergic to it. I seriously, physically cannot be around it. It's interesting, right? So it's like my body is telling me, no, do not be around this. So think about, for you, what are your values? How is your values and faith bringing meaning into your life and world? How are you honoring those boundaries or not? And so that's why I'm saying we've kind of progressively moved into this title, several shows ago. And I've heard several comments about the show about respecting yourself and your boundaries. And I've had some wonderful comments about how it was really a game changer. And I'm always working on that area of my life because I grew up without a lot of boundaries. There was a lot of love in my home, don't get me wrong, but there was also a lot of unsafe behavior by some individuals. Some were very safe and very wonderful, but we all have this journey called life to navigate. And I want you to be conscious of what are you inviting in? What are the values you hold? For instance, in my home, we have a family code of things that me and my son abide by. And for me, one of the top ones is the value of respect. The value of respect. That means no yelling, no demeaning, no name calling. And all of these that I'm mentioning these personally. Well, those move into every area of my life. And so as you're thinking about this, what I want you to notice is that everything in life, the way you act at work, the way you act with your family, is reflective of your relationship with the divine. If you have no relationship with the divine, I can tell you what your life is going to be like. There's going to be trauma drama. There's going to be drinking. There's going to be manipulating. There's going to be yelling. These are all behaviors associated with the personality, with the lack of spirituality. However, you can also attend church and still do all of those things if you're not doing the deeper soul work and the psychological work along the way. And so that's why I'm asking us all to think, well, what are my values that I hold dear? What are the things that matter most that I want to fill my life with? And this is what we're doing in our community. I mean, tonight, it will be the second night of the live talk and the Q&A after. And I'm really excited about the community we're building, because it is a community of respect and acceptance and celebration and unconditional love. And another word that I love, accountability. When you are in a true spiritual community, accountability is going to be an aspect. You can't say, oh yeah, let's just get together and love everybody. Well, what is love? Well, love is following up. Love is supporting. Love is blessing. Love is making time to listen. So think about this. What are your values? And it's interesting, friends. I was called on to think about this very early in my life. I was in college in Seattle. I went to a school called Seattle Pacific University. It's a liberal arts college, basically in basically downtown Seattle, and beautiful campus, great people. And one of the philosophy classes I took in college was called Values, Faith, and Meaning. Values, faith, and meaning. And so I've always in some way worked on this, but for some reason recently I've had a recalibration of some of those values, because they're deepening as I work with them. The clearer I get, I'm another area, I'll just mention this because I've mentioned in past shows that I'm concerned about the over-sexualization of all of us, and especially children. So I don't like being around overly sexualized images. I don't like it. I know it's not respectful to the person. I know it's not respectful to me, and I don't like being around it. Many years ago, I counseled someone. I've counseled both men and women who have been what are now called sex workers, and the damage to their souls is unbelievable. People who say now that people who do that are empowered are lying to you. There's nothing empowering about selling your body. A value I have is not being around that type of behavior or activity, but it is in supporting and empowering those souls to move out of that. So I'm not saying I'll never talk to somebody who does that. What I'm saying is I will not support industries, people who are in a position of over-sexualizing their bodies. I believe it profanes the holy. That's a value I have. That's a value I have. So what are your values that you hold dear? What are those values that you have? And I want you to think about them. Are they I want you to think about the facts, Are they honoring to yourself and to your family? Are they honoring to the dreams, goals, and desires you have? It's like if you really want to move forward in life and you surround yourself with people who are stuck and in addiction, you're never going to move forward no matter how powerful you are, because you're dragging all this other energy with you. So that's why I want you to think about this, and to think about, to be conscious of, rather, do you want to be a part of a spiritual community that holds values like I'm talking about? That holds values of being conscious, aware, peaceful, respectful, celebrating your successes, seeking to be a channel of unconditional love. Don't these sound like values we'd all want to be a part of? Think about what life would be like if everyone held these values. Think about that. If everybody respected each other's journey and that we were striving to create an atmosphere of compassion and encouragement. Can you imagine? Can you imagine? That's what we're building in our online community with the Soulworks. Values of respect, acceptance, celebration, unconditional love, forgiveness, collaboration, compassion, encouragement, support. I want to read to you a little bit of, I want to share with you my family code. I haven't shared this in a long time, and I think for any parents listening, this might be really helpful. And also it might be, even if you don't have children, it's like, what are the behaviors that we want to agree to in our home to create a safe environment? And they might be very different for you, but it might be a fun conversation to have with the people you love, because having those agreements really create an environment of safety and support, because everybody is being heard. I wanted to share what our family code, we call it the Anderson Code of Honor at our house. And I'm just going to read the list of our honor code for our home. Tell the truth. Give unconditional love. Talk it out. Sing it out. Take care of yourself. No yelling, demeaning, or manipulating. Respect feelings, opinions, and space. And celebrate successes. And then myself and my son both signed this document. And this document hangs on our refrigerator and has been there for years. And when I talk about it, I was interviewed years ago on a show. It's called Zen Parenting, I believe. And they interviewed me about this. And it was interesting because a lot of the questions people ask me about the code of honor is, who enforces it? I said, well, that's what's cool about it, is everyone. So if I'm out of alignment, my son has absolute permission to mention that to me. So I'm not, punishing him. I'm giving him the power to behave in a way that is in alignment with values that are spiritual. I'm also empowering him that if he sees something out of alignment, to speak up. And I bet you in the many years we've had it, there have only been probably 4 or 5 times, like in years, and that may be a stretch, that we've even had to discuss what's on this page. Because the values are in alignment with our spiritual journey, and our spiritual journey informs those values. You see how that kind of goes back and forth there. So as I'm building this online community, I'm seeking to build a place that upholds values of respect, of acceptance, of celebration, of unconditional love, of forgiveness, peace, accountability, compassion, encouragement, support. All good. Shawn, what were you going to say?
I was just going to ask, how old was Josh when you guys sat down and wrote that?
I think he was about 6.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
That's beautiful. I would love to hear it again if you don't mind, before you close out, if you could read it
Absolutely.
to us again, that would be.
Yeah, I will. And it's been really amazing, and to do this. And what I love about it is how empowering it is for all parties involved. And it's interesting too, what I just want to mention about my son is that everything he's a part of, he's a leader, because I think because of these qualities that he hears all the time, that he's practicing all the time, that he's around. I go in for teacher meetings and they cry and say, I want a whole classroom full of Joshuas. And honestly, this honor code is a major part of our success in our home, in our healthy relationship. And I'll read that to you again. Tell the truth. Give unconditional love. Talk it out. Sing it out. Take care of yourself. No yelling, demeaning, or manipulating. Respect feelings, opinions, and space. And then finally, celebrate successes. Yeah. And the way we work it, if there is a break or a perceived break, there's a pause and there's a coming back together and a discussion. And as I said, it's happened so few times. What I know is that when we call each other higher, there's something in the soul that really, really loves it. There's something in the soul that feels honored and supported in a way that goes beyond words and goes beyond any parenting strategy. This is about, how do I want to live? What is the tone of my home? What is the way I want to live? What are my values? What is my faith? And how is that creating meaning in my life? And as I'm talking about today, moving that out into spiritual community. So friends, this is what we're building. We're building it one day at a time, one moment at a time, one conversation at a time, one talk at a time. And this is what the spiritual journey is. So many of self-help people act like you just do these 3 things and life is perfect and you're spiritual. And the fact is, the real journey is a day by day, moment by moment, choice by choice process. So my hope for you as we do this work together is that you're going to be inspired. You're going to have more meaning in your life and world. You're going to begin to grow, prosper, and evolve by applying these teachings, and that life will be full of more peace, more joy, more love. As you get clearer and clearer about the special things that you hold dear, your values, how those values work with your faith and how your faith informs those values. So I thank you so much for joining me today. Again, shout out to Amsterdam, New Holland, and bless you for listening. And friends, as always, we're so grateful for your loving support. We thank you for your financial support, and we are happy and honored to support your journey. So thanks again for being with us today, dear friends, and blessings on the journey.
We hope you've enjoyed this episode of the Experience of the Soul podcast with Cynthia Alice Anderson, helping you grow, prosper, and evolve. This podcast is made possible because of listeners and viewers just like you. If you would like to support the podcast with your tax-deductible contribution on an ongoing basis or through a one-time gift, head on over to experienceofthesoul.com/support. The Experience of the Soul podcast is copyright 2024 Cynthia Alice Anderson, all rights reserved, and is produced by Shawn Kilgore. A production of the Soulworks Group, Incorporated.